Well, no couple ever goes into marriage thinking they'll be the ones who won't make it. Certainly at your wedding, you thought you were promising a love that would last a lifetime. Now, for reasons you may not fully understand, that dream seems shattered. But what are some things you should consider before you consider divorce? Live at 5's family attorney Sonia Kaufman joins us now with some tips. And divorce not always a thing that you want to jump into necessarily.
Never a thing you want to jump into. I tell my clients divorce is not for the faint-hearted, so be very certain before you take that step. And I think it's a good idea to ask yourself two questions. One, why do I want a divorce? And most people can answer that. Second question, however, is more difficult, and that is, how will divorce solve those problems for me? And oftentimes it won't. The counselors tell us that after divorce you can unload your spouse, but you're still left with the same you, maybe just different problems. So I think that's a real good analysis to go through before taking that step.
Now, obviously, marriage is amongst two people. What if one person wants the divorce but one person doesn't? Then how do you go about those questions? Is there another way to confront those?
I think in that instance it's a matter of accepting the inevitable, because either party can get the divorce in Texas, and a good counselor can help sort through those things and focus on moving forward if that's the situation.
So do you think that divorce is too easy to come by here in Texas?
It's a good point. Our legislature debates that. Almost every session they debate whether to make a covenant marriage an option that's much harder to get out of. And I could argue both sides of that question, because New York was the last state to really adopt a no-fault divorce, and this was just in the last year or two, and there they were finding that people still got the divorce, they just had to lie to make up grounds in order to do that. So I'm not sure that's the right answer either.
So I guess divorce is just, regardless how you look at it, it's just a very difficult thing, and especially when you throw in kids. And
much more difficult with kids, and so I think it always helps to do that soul searching and get some good counseling before taking that step.
Okay, and as far as counseling goes, do you always look to the church, or are there other counselors out there?
I think the church is a great place to start, and there are also just good licensed professional counselors to help with that, because some of the issues people have to deal with are, number one, setting boundaries. That's a very difficult issue in time of divorce. And secondly, I think is sorting through the emotions, the guilt, all the things that come with it, and learning how to manage it and put that in the right perspective.
All right, we've got some questions. Let's get to those. If you haven't seen your spouse since 2006, what's the best and inexpensive way to file for divorce, and also knowing where to find out where your spouse is located?
In that instance, if you don't know how to get service on the spouse, you can serve them by publication, and that's a fairly easy thing to do. You comply with the statute, give the proper notice, and depending on whether there are kids involved or not, it may be a little bit more involved, but that's what you need to do.
Okay. My kid's dad is ordered to pay child support. He doesn't work 99% of the time. When it's time for a court date, he gets a job. And then he quits shortly after. He's already been on probation, and just because he made a $40 payment, the warrant was dropped. Is there anything else that can be done? Please help.
That's a very common problem, unfortunately. I think the Attorney General's office is very well equipped to deal with that, and they will work through the process of getting this person's attention, anything from suspending their license to putting them on probation and eventually jail time if they don't pay in accordance with the court order.
Just get with the Attorney General's
and work
office.
through the process, yeah.
All right, Sonia, as always, we appreciate you stopping by. Unfortunately, we're out of time, and that's always the way it works, but we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.